Hey, get out of the pool right now, you filthy man. That's how my neighbor, the head of our neighborhood association, greeted me one scorching afternoon when I was heading to the pool in my own backyard. Yes, the very pool I had funded myself after going through all the necessary paperwork, permits, and approvals. For 3 weeks, she'd been treating the place like her own private resort, bringing friends, coolers of alcohol, and laughing as if I weren't even there. Her name was Brenda Moretti, the woman who had managed to push 12 families out of our neighborhood with her power-hungry tactics as head of the Homeowners Association, HOA. Now, she was after me, too. But this time, she'd picked the wrong person to mess with, because the man she had underestimated was about to turn the tables on her in a way she'd never forget. The sun was unbearable that Tuesday when I rolled into my driveway after a grueling day working remotely in software development. All I wanted was to relax, grab a cold drink, maybe cool off in the pool that my late mother and I had saved for years to build. The house had felt emptier ever since she passed 6 months ago. The silence was overwhelming. When I made my way to the backyard, expecting peace and solitude, I froze in place. There, lounging by my pool, were 4 women who looked like they owned the place. Beach chairs, Bluetooth speakers blaring some pop hits, and bottles of wine littering the deck. And there, in the middle of it all, was Brenda, acting like she was the queen of the block. Brenda was in her 40s, always impeccably dressed, even by the pool. She exuded the kind of confidence that only comes when you're used to controlling things. "Excuse me, ladies," I said, keeping my voice as calm as I could muster. "This is my private property, and I need you all to pack up and leave." Brenda didn't even flinch. She slowly took off her sunglasses and stared at me with a look that made my stomach churn. "I don't think you understand, honey," she said, her voice dripping with condescension. "This is the community pool, maintained by the HOA. You can check the rules if you'd like." Her 3 friends giggled as though she'd cracked a joke. I could feel that familiar knot in my stomach, the one I'd felt when I was younger, when I was followed around in stores or bumped into in hallways. But there was something else brewing within me this time, a sense of resolve that had been building since my mother's funeral. I promised her I would protect this house, this place, from anyone who tried to take it from me. "Ma'am, I think there's been a misunderstanding," I said, pulling up the property deed on my phone to show her. "This pool is on my property, built with my money, and it's not part of the HOA." She waved my phone away without so much as glancing at it. "Oh, sweetheart, you must be new to how these things work. After the last president, Mr. Grant, moved out last month, I stepped in to keep order. And maintaining order means ensuring all community resources are used correctly." Something about the way she mentioned Mr. Grant's sudden departure set off a warning bell in my mind, but I pushed it aside. I noticed one of Brenda's friends recording us on her phone, which made the hairs on my neck stand up. This wasn't the first time Brenda had done this. I took a deep breath. "Look, I understand if you're confused about the property boundaries, but I have documents here, permits, surveys, everything. This pool is mine." Brenda stood up. Somehow, she managed to look down at me, even though I was much taller. "You know what your problem is?" she asked, loud enough for the neighbors to hear. "You people come into nice neighborhoods like this and immediately start causing trouble. 12 families have already moved out because they couldn't adapt to our standards, and you're showing all the same signs." Her words hit me like a slap in the face. "You people." She didn't even try to disguise her racism. The mention of 12 families struck me too. What community standards was she talking about? I realized I had been standing there, dumbfounded, not just by her blatant racism, but by how calculated this all was. This was no accidental outburst. This was a well-practiced routine. "I'm going to have to ask you to leave my property one last time," I said, my voice steady, though my blood was boiling. "If not, I'll call the cops." Brenda let out a loud, mocking laugh, pulling out her phone. "Oh, darling, don't worry. I'm way ahead of you," she said, dialing as she spoke. "Yes, officer, I need to report an aggressive black man at 1247 Birch Street. He's harassing us and making us feel unsafe. We're just trying to enjoy the community pool, and he's being hostile and inappropriate." Her voice was full of exaggerated drama, and even her friends flinched at her words. I quickly pulled out my phone, started recording, and hoped the audio would provide some proof of what was really happening. As Brenda fabricated her story for the police, I couldn't stop thinking about my mother's last words. "This house is all you've got left, baby. Promise me you'll protect it." I had made that promise, and I was going to keep it, no matter how far Brenda was willing to go. Detective Rachel Park arrived about 15 minutes later. A no-nonsense woman in her 30s, she was quick to assess the situation. Brenda, of course, had been preparing for this moment, carefully positioning herself and her friends to look like victims. "Officer, thank God you're here," Brenda said, tearing up on cue. "This man has been tormenting us. We were just enjoying our pool time when he came over, threatening us and saying disgusting things." Detective Park glanced at the property boundaries, clearly noticing that the pool was on my land. "Can you be more specific about these threats?" she asked. Brenda's friends jumped in, all adding their own embellishments to the story, each claiming I was threatening and aggressive. Then I spoke. "Detective, before this goes any further, I think you should hear what actually happened." I played the audio recording from my phone, and Brenda's words about 12 families came through clearly. The room fell silent as everyone processed what had just been revealed. The detective's expression changed instantly. "Mr. Washington, I believe you," she said. I could see Brenda's face turn white as she realized her lies had been exposed. But then Brenda doubled down, claiming the recording was taken out of context. It didn't matter. The truth was already out, and she had no more control over the narrative. Detective Parks started asking for documentation, both from Brenda and from me. When Brenda couldn't provide legitimate proof of her authority as HOA president, the pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place. She had taken over the role by force. With no election, no vote. I spent the next few days investigating, with help from Marcus, a neighbor who had been quietly watching Brenda's reign of terror, and even Tommy, a local security installer who had secretly been gathering footage of Brenda's harassment. What I uncovered was disturbing. Brenda had been creating fake complaints, planting evidence, and targeting families who didn't fit her idea of the perfect neighborhood. But then, Brenda crossed the line. Late one night, I saw her sneaking around my pool with chemicals, dumping bleach and industrial cleaners into the water. I immediately called the police. When Detective Park arrived, Brenda was standing in my pool, holding a shovel, ranting about how I'd ruined her life. She had lost control completely. Her actions that night, the assault on my property, were the final straw. Brenda was arrested, charged with multiple crimes, including hate crimes and harassment. But it wasn't over. The truth came out about her past, her abusive tactics, and how she had targeted entire families to get them out of the neighborhood. Weeks later, at her sentencing, her attorney spoke about Brenda's mental health issues, her grief from a miscarriage and a failed marriage. But the damage she had caused couldn't be erased. The family she had driven out, the children she had traumatized, those scars remained. Yet, in the face of all that, I didn't want to see Brenda destroyed. I spoke up at the sentencing, advocating for therapy and rehabilitation over pure punishment. It was time for real healing, not just retribution. Our community had been forever changed. The new HOA was founded on principles of inclusion and transparency, and the pool, once a symbol of division, became a place for everyone. Families returned. Children played together. And every summer, we threw unity pool parties, where neighbors of all backgrounds gathered to share food, laughter, and stories. Looking out over that pool, I knew my mother would have been proud. She wasn't just asking me to protect the house. She was teaching me to protect the community, one where everyone belongs. And that's what we built together. As I reflect on everything that happened, it's clear that what began as a simple confrontation over a pool became something much bigger, a fight for justice, dignity, and community. Brenda's actions weren't just an attack on me. They were an assault on the values that make a neighborhood a home, a place of respect, unity, and mutual support. But in the end, this wasn't about winning a battle or proving who was right. It was about standing up for what's right, for protecting the home my mother loved, and for ensuring that no one could ever manipulate our community again. When the truth came to light, it wasn't just the exposure of Brenda's lies and manipulation that mattered. It was the response of those around me. The support from neighbors like Marcus, Tommy, and the other families who had been pushed out was humbling. It was a reminder that while one person can try to tear a community apart, it only takes a handful of people to rebuild it stronger. Together, we stood as proof that when you fight for what's right, you don't just protect your own. Your actions ripple outward, inspiring others to do the same. The transformation of our neighborhood didn't happen overnight. Healing takes time, especially when the scars run deep. But with every summer pool party, every shared meal, and every child playing freely, I saw the seeds of change taking root. Our neighborhood, once a place divided by fear and distrust, had become something better, something more inclusive. This journey taught me that healing isn't about revenge or punishment. It's about understanding, empathy, and breaking the cycles of hurt that perpetuate division. And while Brenda's reign of terror was over, the lessons it taught all of us are far from finished. It's easy to ignore the quiet forms of discrimination that lurk beneath the surface, but those subtleties have the power to destroy. By speaking up, standing firm, and choosing compassion over anger, we gave our community a chance to grow, stronger, united, and more inclusive than ever. As I look at the pool now, watching the laughter of children from all walks of life, I know that my mother would be proud. We didn't just protect the house. We protected the heart of our home. And in doing so, we built something far more lasting than bricks and mortar. We built a place where everyone truly belongs.